The grandparents, yours and mine, always keep a jar full of holidays to share with us. One of the favorites in my family has always been, if you don't stand for something, you fall for it. But how do you know when it is your turn and your time to stand for something, be it justice, a principle, or simply what is right? Where is the line that you say cannot be crossed? For our next honoree, his stand came in the Big Easy, New Orleans, a place where a good time isn't just a state of mind, it is a way of life. But it was also a place where Earl Faison and 20 other American Football League players in the 1960s put their pro football careers and arguably their lives on the line. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Earl Faison was an outstanding prep athlete in Newport News, Virginia. A strapping 6'5", 230 pounds. Then he was a four-time Virginia Interscholastic Association All-State football player, won 2 state championships in basketball, and was a 4-time state shot put and discus champion. Every major university in Virginia should have wanted him, but none would recruit him because major universities in Virginia weren't recruiting black athletes in the 1950s. So Earl instead went to play football at Indiana University. He went to Indiana for a couple of reasons. He wanted to leave the South, although he didn't know at the time the state of Indiana was the home of the But this is maybe a little more important. Most of his black high school coaches had gone to Big Ten schools. It was easier for them to get both their bachelor's and master's degrees there. At Indiana, Earl played both tight end and defensive end. He would lead Indiana in receiving in 1958 and 1960, and in 1960 earned both All Big Ten and 13 All-America recognition as a defensive end. He was selected in the 5th round of the NFL draft by the Detroit Lions, and the 1st round of the AFL draft, 7th overall by the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, who had moved to San Diego following their inaugural 1960 AFL season, won out because the AFL, in a bidding war with the NFL, was willing to sign players in December following the college East-West Shrine All-Star game. So even though Earl did not graduate from Indiana until the spring of 1961, his college eligibility was complete, and he signed with San Diego in December 1960. With the help of Chargers assistant coach Chuck Noll, who you might remember had some pretty good success as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Earl Faison established himself as a dominant defender. He was part of the original Fearsome Foursome. Yes, that nickname was soon appropriated by the Los Angeles Rams. But besides Faison, there was Ron Neary, Bill Hudson, and Ernie Ladd. They were a key reason the Chargers won 5 AFL West titles in 6 years, and the 1963 AFL Championship with a 51-10 drubbing of the Boston Patriots. Although Earl missed part of the 1962 season with a knee injury and held out for part of 1963 in a contract dispute, he was a 5-time All-AFL selection from 1961 to 65 and played in 5 league All-Star games, none more important than the one on January 16, 1965. That All-Star game came at the conclusion of the 1964 season, and that game was supposed to have been played in New Orleans on January 11th. But when Earl and other black All-Stars had arrived in town for the game, they were having great difficulty getting served in restaurants or nightclubs, or even getting cabs from the hotel to go to a restaurant or nightclub. This despite the fact the 1964 Civil Rights Act had recently been passed. The final straw occurred following an incident in the French Quarter. Earl, Ernie Ladd, and a couple of other players had somehow gotten a cab to take them within walking distance of Bourbon Street. The group went to a restaurant trying to get dinner. What they got was a redneck owner who pulled a gun on Ladd and said he and all his inward friends were going to get the hell out of his establishment. Well, let's face it, Ernie Ladd was 6'9" and 300 pounds. And that shot would just be mad. But it was time to take a stand. The black players that night all met in Earl's room, and after much discussion, they voted to boycott the All-Star game. They would be eventually joined by a couple of white players as well, Ron Mix and Jack Kemp. The same Jack Kemp became a Republican congressman and eventual vice presidential candidate. Although owners and city officials begged and threatened the players to go on with the game, Earl and the other 20 boycotters stood tall and stood firm. because, as Earl later said, this had to change. They would force the AFL to move that game from New Orleans to Houston, one of the very few times a player revolt has successfully forced an event's change of venue. Now, Earl would finish his AFL career with the Miami Dolphins in 1967. Injuries, in part, helped bring a premature end to the playing days, but not his life. He did some acting, appearing in television shows like The Beverly Hillbillies. Imagine that. And movies like Heaven Can Wait. But his other calling was education. He taught and coached football at Lincoln High School here in San Diego, and in fact, was the first black high school football coach in the San Diego area. He has been inducted in the San Diego Hall of Champions and the Greek Board Hall of Fame, which honors San Diego's finest athletes for performance on and off the field. Now, there is no way of knowing if Earl's life would have been any different had he accepted the treatment he and the others received in New Orleans 45 years ago. But I am willing to bet there are many of us whose lives, directly and indirectly, are better because he and 20 other All-Stars took a stand for what was right. So today, we at ABJ stand and say thank you to Earl Faison, our 2010 Sandies Pioneer Award.
I think after that wonderful introduction, I'm ready to be coordinated here. Mr. Kelly, Executive Board, fellow honorees, friends, and guests, I want to thank you for this occasion for all of us to be here tonight. I stand before you with great humility and pride at being one of the recipients of the single most prestigious and humbling honor ever bestowed upon me. When I first learned of this award from Mike, I was rendered speechless and could only mumble an Elvis Presley sounding "thank you very much." And I remain in awe tonight with all of these great athletes. Get a little older, the pages stick a little tighter. Assembled here for much deserved recognition. Congratulations to all of you. I saw you all play and applaud you. I saw Tanya running hurdles. Saw Willie hitting the ice. They all did it well, and naturally you saw Dave, and I saw Dave and Kurt. My only regret that you never had the opportunity to see me play. Be assured that I and my teammates played with the same intensity and courage and desire to excel as your teammates and you. In fact, Sid Gilman, our football coach, maintained that he would only draft players who possessed the 3 I's of sports: agile, mobile, and hostile. Since being informed of this award, I've had time to do a lot of reminiscing and reflecting on my earlier years and some of my favorite stories. As I pondered my past, I couldn't help but think of the blessings I've received all my life from teachers, neighbors, and role models. My high school coaches were very instrumental in my development as a young man and athlete. Collectively, they were my surrogate father. It was through their efforts that I attended, bear with me, the greatest college in the world, Indiana University. And I would be remiss if I did not extend my heartfelt gratitude to three black reporters of the day. Mr. Brad Pye of the Los Angeles Sentinel here in Los Angeles. And a young man, young 50 years ago, but he took my first sports picture and put it in the Norfolk, Virginia Journal and Guide. And then we have a local black sports writer here, Mr. John Warren of The Voice and Viewpoint here in San Diego. You know, as an athlete, I like to think of myself as having played during the golden era of football. It was during this time that football grew in popularity because of a still youthful and budding television industry. Some great quotes have been recorded and are still in use today from sportsmen of this period. Allow me, if you will, indulge me, to remind you of a few. Who will ever forget the inspirational and educational words of hockey star and Willie O'Ree's friend Gordie Howe, who said, "All pro athletes are bilingual. They speak English and profanity." Or Muhammad Ali, speaking on age. Age is mind over matter. As long as you don't mind, it don't matter. Another great boxer of my era, Willie Pelt, when asked about aging, said, "First your legs go, then you lose your friends." Legendary baseball manager Branch Rickey used to say on aging, first you forget names, then you forget faces, then you forget to zip up your fly. I think you got it. Then you forget to unzip your fly. Of course, my all-time favorite quote comes from Yogi Berra. As you know, he always said, "It ain't over till it's over." And Yogi also said, when asked about his head size, his hat size, he said, "I don't know. I ain't in shape yet." But anyway, I just wanted to share a few little wordisms with you. And I do want you to be aware that I really, really am appreciative of the great honor being bestowed upon me tonight and the rest of us. I came in from Prescott, Arizona this morning, and Mike, thanks for coming over to meet me at the airport. And he's going to ensure that I go back to Arizona tomorrow morning. So, but I am so happy to be here this evening and sharing in the honors. So thank you very much for all of you who came out. I really do appreciate it and look forward to next year.